Hey everyone, welcome back to the Atypical Declutter game. My name is April and you are at Atypical Life. Today is day 7 and the topic for day 7 is what to do if nobody will help you. If you live alone right now, this tip may not have much of an impact, but I always see this question of what to do when your husband, kids, wife, roommate won't participate, and the real answer is don't worry about what they're doing. Focus on what you can do. They don't have to help. They don't have to get on board. If you try and force this new lifestyle on them, they will probably resent it and give you even more pushback. Here's what I think you should do. And this is the approach that seems to work really well in our family. Obviously, everything doesn't work for everyone, but this is what seems to be working for us. Focus on trying it out for yourself. Focus on your items. Focus on the spaces mainly used by you. Your chair, your bedroom, your closet. Do those areas first. No matter what happens after this point, those areas that you use the most are still going to be improving. So at least you can control that. And then as you start gaining momentum and confidence, you can let others know what you're doing. Just explain it to them. Just explain that you're trying to get the house to be a little bit easier to take care of. And you're doing this by getting rid of some extra items, some extra stuff. And that seems to be a pretty effective way it's working for you. So let them see the progress that you're making. Let them see how you're mentally progressing, hopefully. And show them your before and after pics if they're willing to talk a little bit more about it. Offer to help if they're interested, and if you think you can. Don't offer to help though if you don't. Offer to help only if you think you can, without being judgmental or yelling or trying to talk them into decisions that they're not really ready for. So if you start to find yourself kind of like losing your calm or like getting frustrated, just don't try to be the person that helps, because even like I can't let my husband help me. Like it doesn't mesh well together. It just doesn't work. So not everybody, even with the best intentions, are going to be able to help each other, okay? Proceed with caution here on this next one, but you can start to set some boundaries about which spaces are yours. So mark those spaces off. My husband and I both have a side of the bathroom sink. So this is a really big problem area for me. I always try my best not to let my stuff flow over onto his side, but sometimes that emptiness over there just looks so tempting, and I'm like, I just need a place to sit this. But the thing is, if I set something on his side, and he always has permission to just stick it back on my side, and he has permission to do that without any hurt feelings or drama from me, okay? Because that's his side, and he deserves, if he wants it to be cleaned off and empty, then that's his space. The next piece of this process would be, I really recommend that you try and work through the emotions that come up from someone not being on the same page as you, because it will trigger some things. And often we see it as disrespect, and then that'll trigger anger and resentment and all these other and all these other emotions, okay, that can get a little intense. And really, it's not about disrespect, or it's not about anything like that on their part. It's just that they're not ready to make these changes for themselves. They're not in that place. They're not in that mindset. They don't necessarily understand what you're doing. They don't see how it will help, and they're just not there yet. So I really recommend that, or I really think that you'll have so much more success if you can learn to anger about this privately. If you don't know about angering, I recommend looking up safe ways to anger, and that way you can kind of come from a really cool, calm place that has a lot more compassion and composure when you do need to talk about and try to come up with solutions that work for both of you. If you have youngest children in the house, it's time you can teach them. You can add as a means to incentivize them to learn how to work this process, and that's really important that you do take the time to teach them. So enlist the younger kids. You can set up an agreement with others in your house that when you're tidying and you come across some of their items, you can put them in a designated spot. An example of this would be a basket in their room, or a shared basket in a common room. My husband, certain things I'll put in like clothing and stuff, clothing items, I'll lay them on his pillow. He's got to do something with those now, especially if they've been laying out for a long time, So ultimately, you can't force others to participate, but what you can do is you can lead by example, you can take care of yourself, you can be a compassionate teacher. You might be surprised that when you aren't trying to lead by force, other people might be more willing to follow you. Or not. They may not have any interest, and in which case you might have to figure out how to set appropriate boundaries that honor you and the others in your shared spaces.
Okay, so this is day 7. I feel like things are really starting to kind of like, I can tell around the house that I've been decluttering. This would be 68 items for me. But yeah, I'm wanting to do a little bit more of like a review or something, but I just can't get it together right now. Posting every day is really hard, but I knew that going in. Anyways, that's all for today. So 68 items.
Let us know. I'm so curious how you all handle the other people in your space that aren't interested in decluttering or tidying. Also, don't forget to post your thoughts in the comments. Progress pics on Instagram. It's hashtag A.Typical Declutter. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to the A.Typical Declutter Game. My name is April and you are at A.Typical Life. Today is day 8 and this is about decluttering as you go. This is my most used way of handling clutter issues on a regular basis. I think that really this is probably the ultimate goal, and that people who don't struggle with clutter issues are able to keep up with their stuff by handling it like this for the most part. Maybe that's just me daydreaming, but when I'm decluttering as I go, it feels really natural. And it would probably be the only thing that I ever had to do if I didn't get hung up on the decision making sometimes. So sometimes I get a little overwhelmed and I can't make the decision, and then I have to fall back into the other patterns and things that I'm giving you tips about in this series. Basically, decluttering as I go means that as I go about my daily chores and routines, I keep an eye out for anything that is clutter and should be removed. These items either go into the declutter spaces that we made earlier in the challenge, the empty drawer, the tote, or they go into the trash or the recycling or donate bin. I really want to elaborate on this, but that's really it. So I'll give you a few scenarios. Sometimes when I'm feeling like life has become overly hectic and housework is falling behind and things are really starting to spill over, I find myself scanning for clutter on autopilot. This is decluttering as I go. In the shower, I'll look over for the items and make sure there are no empties or products that I don't like that have escaped my notice. There are some shelves around the coffee pot, so when I'm making coffee, I will find myself scanning the shelves and the kitchen table and counters. Putting away laundry is a really good time to part with that t-shirt that you keep seeing in your closet but you're not wearing. Sitting at my desk, waiting on something to load, I'll do a quick scan, quick tidy, and declutter. Waiting on your kids. I don't know if your kids are like my kid, but sometimes tying or putting on shoes takes 10 minutes. So waiting on them to get themselves together instead of getting frustrated and impatient, I'll do a quick scan of the room that I'm in. Those are some of my examples. So what are some of your examples that you use to declutter as you go, and how have you worked this decluttering into your daily habits?
So today I decluttered as I went, and this is what I came up with. I actually decided to come up with 12 items today so that I could round out the decluttering game back to 10 per day. And I am on 80. This will be 80 items. How exciting.
So try to start doing this every day for the rest of the challenge, but especially for the rest of the day. Just scan the areas that you're in, and anytime you're cleaning, pay attention to what you're cleaning and tidying and see if there aren't a few things to let go of. All right, so those were my scenarios and my examples. Let me know some of your examples. How have you worked decluttering as you go into your daily routine so that you can keep up with things without having to do such a big declutter? Don't forget to post your thoughts in the comments, and if you have progress pics, post them on Instagram. It's hashtag A.Typical Declutter. And that's all for today, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye! Hey everyone, welcome back to the A.Typical Declutter Game. My name is April and you are at A.Typical Life. Today's topic is don't be a minimalist. Let me be honest and say that title is definitely a little clickbaity. I was just trying to come up with something catchy, but I'm really only recommending that you not worry so much about the minimalist label when you're trying to declutter. The title should really be, don't worry about becoming a minimalist, and don't think it has to be the end goal of decluttering. I love many minimalist YouTube channels, and I'm not saying that minimalism is bad, but I do want to reference some of the fantasy that comes along with the idea of minimalism and how it might be tripping you up like it was me. This is just going to be kind of a personal story. Yeah, that's all this video is. It's more of a personal story that you might be able to relate to. Many of the minimal women that I watch regularly, or not just women, I watch some men too, many of the minimalists that identify as minimalists that I watch regularly would even agree with me, because everyone that identifies as a minimalist is not trying to sell the same thing. Everyone is not trying to give you unrealistic expectations. And sometimes people just use the label minimalism because it's a good generalized way to talk about the topic of someone who is decluttered and curated, and who puts pride in their possessions, and having fewer possessions. So I'm not taking shots at anyone. That's not what this is about. Also, if you can't tell already, this video is a little bit rambly. So if you have thoughts or specific questions, put them down below and we can come back to this, because I do have a few more thoughts on this topic that I would like to get back to, but it was just too much for one video. All right, so let's get into kind of the rambling of my experience and my thoughts about this, and my realization that I needed to remove minimalist label from my life or from my goals. I think that part of the problem with the label is how confusing it is. There's no single working definition for minimalism as a lifestyle. There is for minimalism as art and various and something else, but I don't. As far as minimalism as a lifestyle, there's just a bunch of people weighing in on the principles that are important to them. And some of those principles are really awesome, and I totally think should be encouraged, like trying to buy less, trying to put more purpose in our activities and our possessions. Totally would love to encourage those. But then some of them get more and more extreme, just trying to live without furniture, trying to live in a tiny home, with 3 kids. And then, I just don't see these things working for a lot of people. So let's take a minute and let's scrutinize the image that we're sold about what minimalism is. What are the images that we see on social media? How maybe we need to worry less about being minimalists, talking about people like me, and we just need to worry about being ourselves and what works best for us. So first off, decluttering was made popular by the recent minimalist movement. I'm so thankful for that. But decluttering itself is really as old as having things. I mean, we've always had to make decisions of what to keep and what to let go of and what should be a part, and all of this process should be a part of just learning to take care of your home. Decluttering is more effective for me when it's just about getting rid of things, not becoming someone different. Think about that for a second. So it becomes like sweeping the floor. When I sweep my floor, my home does not become a different home. I do not become a different person. My floor becomes clean. When I declutter, I do not become a minimalist. My closet becomes more usable. So I think that there's a nice perspective shift that might help you kind of see where you want to fall in. Do you want to be a minimalist, or do you want to be someone who has a cleaner closet? So I think that part of that's where the first problem comes up. I know a whole bunch of people who were never really taught how to keep a home. And if they were taught, it was really kind of haphazard lessons by their parents who were busy, stressed, didn't really know how to do it themselves. Most of our parents didn't even have the language that we have around decluttering. So here we are, kind of vulnerable. We're in our ineffective housekeeping methods. We're surrounded by last year's clutter and yesterday's dirty food dishes, and suddenly this calm, clean-looking, picturesque ideal takes over social media and television, and it's selling minimalism. And we're burning candles. And we're told we could do this too. if we become a minimalist, we could have this same picturesque life. And so now it kind of becomes our fantasy, right? I romanticized this for a long time. I was like, oh my gosh, look how calm and peaceful. And in contrast with our super stressful world that we live in. And of course I want my whole life to be like the spa experience. And I want it to smell good and feel good and be comfortable and calm and peaceful. And I kind of became obsessed with this dream of peace and traveling the world with a backpack and a tiny home and decluttering. It's going to make all this happen. So yes, I'm starting now. Sign me up. Then you try it. Then I tried it. Trash bags full of stuff donated. House still messy. Closet too small. Counters still have appliances. And the walls are still last decade Sherwin-Williams blue. Tried to pare down, but then I realized, I'm attached to some of these things and I probably need some of them. And I live in 4 seasons climate, so I have like all these clothes and I have to have coats. And I don't know, do I really want to drag the toaster out every time I want to use it? And I don't really have the cabinet space to store it. So now all of this, I feel like a failure. My house is still messy. It's improved. Right? It improved. But next time I declutter, that's going to be the time I succeed. But in the meantime, I got to figure out what's wrong with me. So I watch all these declutter videos to figure out how to solve the problem, to motivate me, how can I declutter more stuff? And the next time I declutter, I'm only going to be able to keep exactly what I need to be a minimalist. Less stuff is less stress. And yeah, I'm not trying to make fun of anyone. This is exactly what I believed was the ideal. I bought into it for years. This is why I understand it. If anything, I'm calling myself out and I'm making fun of myself because I truly believed that I could declutter my way into a stress-free life. I wanted a spa life. But eventually I just realized that thinking I had to become a minimalist for decluttering to be effective was actually keeping me from being able to make the best decisions for me in the right now based in reality. Based on minimalism, I was refusing to implement organization systems, because according to many minimalists, you shouldn't have so much, you shouldn't really need to organize. That was just one mistake I was kind of making. Declutter, 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 declutter. Then you can finally organize when you have very, very little stuff, and you probably won't even need to organize it because you have so little. But I never got there. And I was never going to get there. How about the other fact? I was spending so much time decluttering and not enough time tidying up. When I had tried to declutter so many times, and I'm decluttering again, decluttering the same areas again and again and again and again. And I was lucky if I could find 1 or 2 more things. It just wasn't time for me to declutter that area again. So here I am going back over it, trying to become a minimalist, but it was just time wasted. I should have just been tidying. Or, just been tidying, maybe decluttering as I go, because that is so much more helpful for me instead of decluttering to become a minimalist. And then, beating yourself up every time that I saw a drawer, that had gotten stuff full. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. I'm triggered. I have to declutter this whole house again. I'm overwhelmed. I'm never going to get through it all. Blah, blah. I was putting all this pressure on myself to get to this point of life that I was just never going to get to because the junk drawer had some junk in it. Toss the junk, close the drawer, right? But I it couldn't do that. I was triggered because I needed to be a minimalist because I wanted less stress. Really struggling over how many towels I had because I do have company from time to time and these people do need towels. They do take showers and, I have a few more extra towels and all the stress that I was putting onto myself when the ultimate goal was really trying to have less stress, but I was creating stress. I was creating stressful situations. So I'm just curious if any of you guys resonate with that. If you're kind of feel like that maybe you're creating your own stress by trying to get to the point of less stress. And if you took the perspective shift, if you just said decluttering is not meant to make me a minimalist. Decluttering is a way of clearing some things out and we move on. I will only declutter when I actually need to declutter. I will not randomly declutter just because I want to become a minimalist. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to make any of these decisions for anyone. I think this is a personal topic and I think it's a personal thing. Let me know, what are some of the traps you fall into? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the ideal of minimalism? Are you buying it? Are you succeeding in it? Have you become minimal, or have you reduced? I totally agree that reducing some of the amount of stuff, I think some of us have way too much stuff, and the more you reduce, you do have less to take care of. That's real. But then you also have this flip side of where you're kind of creating problems where there might not be problems. I don't know. Anyways, just tell me your thoughts. Let me know, because I like I said, I'm somewhere in the middle. I just had to kind of find this balance for myself. I still watch minimalist content. I still support minimalist principles. I just do it now with a dose of realism and knowing that it's okay to own more things. It's okay to have to tidy a little bit more often and implement some organization. And it's okay to struggle with letting things go and not, and that knowing not owning any possessions isn't going to solve your problems or take away your stress. It's okay. You can do all that. And that's all for today. That was kind of a long ramble video. Thank you guys so much for sticking it out. Don't forget to post your progress on Instagram, #A.Typical Declutter, and let us know in the comments how you feel about today's topic, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Okay, so I don't have too much to say about these items. I've just really been focusing on decluttering as I go about my day. And it is day 9, and I have decluttered 90 items. So 10 was originally the goal, and we are meeting the goal at this point. I would like to note, I am going to start spacing out the uploads just a little bit to give me a little bit more time in between. It's really challenging to put up a video every day, and I think it will help me get some other things together to go along with this. So anyways, for those of you who want to follow along, want to join in, go ahead and join whenever you want. Start at day 1, do a couple days and quit. There's no real, like I said at the beginning, there's no real rules to this. It's just about giving you something to do, to follow, to try, to give you a little bit of motivation to do something every day to learn a habit. Anyways, so I will see you again next time. Bye.